OnePlus leaned into the world of mid-range smartphones this year with the Nord, offering very few compromises but a top-notch performance from a phone that costs a lot less than its flagship offerings. So the thing we were keen to find out when the next flagship did come along was just how much difference there was between them and whether maybe you should consider saving your money and getting the Nord, or whether you should pay a bit extra and get the 8T. So we've got the 8T here and we have the Nord, so we figured why not try and help you decide which one suits you the best. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is our OnePlus 8T versus Nord comparison. So here's the thing when looking at the two phones. They look fairly similar, at least in terms of colour and overall design language. Both feature a flat surface on the front and relatively skinny bezels around the display. In fact, the bezels look virtually identical. The overall size and shape of the phone feels really close to being the same as well. There's really only a millimetre or two difference between them in terms of width and height. They even practically weigh the same. Both have that curved glass on the back, but you will feel subtle differences in texture. Because of its plastic frame, you don't get that cold metallic feel on the edges of the Nord. But when you press the buttons, you do feel like the quality of the click isn't as solid. You wouldn't care or notice if you didn't have them side by side though. Neither phone has an IP-rated certification against water damage, but both should survive a drop in a puddle or being caught in the rain. The biggest visual difference is the camera housing on the back, where the 8T has a much blockier rectangle protrusion for its quad camera system. Now moving on to displays, and both have that Fluid Amoled flat panel, but as you can see in the top corner, the Nord has more of an intrusion from the selfie camera cutout thanks to having a dual camera system there. The Nord's display is ever so slightly smaller too. Both are the same resolution, and when you flick through galleries or photos with the two side by side, it's really difficult to tell the difference between them, at least when comparing colour reproduction and brightness and contrast. They're so similar. One thing that is different is refresh rate, but again, unless you have a really keen eye, you'll struggle to notice much difference between the 90Hz on the Nord, because that is actually quite excellent, and the 120Hz on the 8T. A lot of that visual difference will really come down to software. OnePlus Nord currently runs Oxygen OS 10.5 based on Android 10. OnePlus 8T is running Android 11 with the redesigned Oxygen OS 11 on it. And this new software helps add to the feel of smoothness in animation thanks to some optimizations done in the software when you're moving around various layers of the interface. If you're watching this video a few weeks after we published it or a few months after we published it, you may find that the Nord already has Oxygen OS 11. Now it's in performance where the biggest difference between these two occurs. The 8T has a more powerful chip, so when you're loading games you might notice it's a teensy bit quicker to load, and they render the full sharpness of the graphics quicker too. But once you get gaming, you really don't see much between them at all. The 765G processor in the Nord is still powerful and fast and keeps the phone feeling smooth and quick all the time. Battery sizes are quite different, with 4,500 mAh on the 8T versus 4,115 on the Nord, but here's the kicker. I never really had to think about battery life with the 8T at all while I was using it because it has much faster charging. It has a system called Warp Charge 65 that can fill up an empty battery in under 40 minutes. Or if you plug it in for 15, you'll get just under 70%. OnePlus Nord takes about 30 minutes to get to that same level. Now the camera systems are similar on both, with a regular 48 megapixel primary camera with optical image stabilization as the main camera on the two phones. Both have ultra-wides and also a macro and depth lenses. But we can ignore those last two, they're not really all that useful on either phone. So OnePlus improved low light performance with the 8T, enabling more advanced night modes that work even with video. Results are a bit smushy, but still draw in more light. The 8T also has a higher resolution ultra-wide camera, so you might find overall pictures are a tiny bit better on the 8T. But we found the main camera is the only good one really on both phones. It's the one that consistently takes good photos in good daylight with nice looking colours and good depth. And if there is any real difference between the two of them, it's really hard to see. Both phones tend to add a bit too much contrast when you're taking photos too. So it's clear in the end that when you pay extra for the 8T, you're paying mostly for that faster charging and the more powerful chip inside. The faster charging is really good and could completely change your charging habits, so you're only plugging in when your phone is completely empty. You also get a faster refresh rate screen and a slightly more premium design. But I still feel like the Nord is punching above its weight, way above its weight. The camera experience isn't really that much worse, it's still fast and smooth and offers enough performance to keep pretty much anyone happy. So what I'd say is if you absolutely must have the fastest and latest phone available from OnePlus, get the 8T, it's still a great phone. But for most people, I think the Nord is more than good enough, and you can save yourself some money too by buying one. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on pretty much any social media network going. You can follow me on there, ask me questions if you want to, or use the comments down below. If you do like this video, hit thumbs up and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of our next videos. I'll see you again in the next one.